Hello. Let me take you today on a journey to discover together the human brain. We will use Noesis Theory, which is a theory I have been developing for the last 18 years, and you can study in more detail at noesistheory.com. This is a theory that aspires to explain every thought and every action of every human. Now, that's a bold claim. So after we discover it together, if you think that there's a human behavior or a thought that cannot be explained through this theory, I'd love to hear it and provide an example in Reddit at the subreddit Noesis. It's essentially a cognitive model, but it provides the big picture. It abstracts the low level of the implementation, which can be done in various ways, which is good because we can use large language models and utilize Noesis theory as a chain of thought workflow, and this would produce human-like behavior. You'll see what I mean once we discuss it together. A more detailed explanation is definitely available at noesistheory.com, but let's go through a brief outline here. So, wherever we stand, every human at any point in time has an internal state, meaning a set of assumptions about the world of what currently is true. This drives his predictions for the future. At any point in time, we're always predicting what can happen and what cannot happen. And we're using our past knowledge of events as well as our internal state to decide what's possible and what's not. Based on these predictions, we might identify something that we believe will cause us pain, or it might cause us pleasure, or we might see something that was not part of our predictions. Something unexpected, something out of context. You will see it as OOC in short in these diagrams later. Let's call all those differentials. And the key goal of the human brain is to eliminate differentials. How does he do it? So for unexpected, essentially, it tries to create a bridge to link the unexpected to our internal state and our prediction perimeter. You might need one step, you might need multiple steps, but you start from the end and try to build step by step to get closer to your internal state. So I try to find the root cause that would explain this unexpected. So my prediction here would be able to reach this unexpected if this was true. Now, if this was true, let's see, our current internal state, can it consider that this might be true? Yes, it's part of our prediction perimeter, so it might be true. So we therefore have bridged this unexpected and therefore can engulf it and make it part of the internal state and thus be better equipped to explain the world around us. But we do the exact same thing for goals that could avoid discomfort or bring us pleasure. And again, we start from the end and try to bring it closer, creating a bridge of our internal state with the unattained. So if we have a goal that is non-actionable, we don't really know how to do it, then we say, okay, can we find an interim goal, something in between that if we were in this current state, then it would be actionable for us to reach here. And if we consider that, yes, this would be an interim goal that would deliver the ultimate goal, then we solve it in the same way. Okay, is this goal actionable? Do I have the capabilities from the internal state and my past knowledge of how to do actions? Can I reach this interim goal? If yes, then essentially I have unlocked this, and then I can execute a choreography of actions that will take me there. One more thing to keep in mind before we go to an example is, as humans, we're essentially multitasking. So all those differentials that we mentioned, there can be small, big, they decay over time. We see things and they come closer to us and they become bigger. So we're always focusing on the biggest differential, and we're sponsoring a chain of goals and sub-goals until we're able to reach something actionable that will ultimately eliminate that differential. So it's a chain of sponsorship that can lead us to do some things that currently do not seem that they're really delivering that goal, but in our mind, we have linked those interim steps, and we believe that if we do this, then ultimately this goal will be achieved as well. So what is the workflow that the brain uses to execute all those searches. We can see it here. Essentially, every time we get an input, we evaluate it against our the prediction perimeter that we had. If it's not out of context, then we just update the expectations. Yes, what we expected to happen actually happened. But if it's out of context, then we're trying to evaluate, does this out of context tell us something about positive or negative things that can happen? We try to add an emotional coloring to it to create those differentials of positive and negative emotions that we saw earlier. And this will help put all of those in the canvas that we just saw and decide which is the biggest differential. If an out-of-context experience needs to be explained and has the biggest differential, then we'll do a root cause query, trying to find the interim steps until we link it to our internal state. If we manage to do that, then we integrate it into our internal state and then deal with the next differential. Now, sometimes we have explained what needs to be explained, but we are still trying to avoid pain or achieve some pleasure. So this is sub-goals. Sometimes we're very lucky and our internal state is so close to the sub-goal that we want to execute, like trying to pick up a fork and bring it to our mouth, that we can auto-execute and produce some output with our muscles. Sometimes we cannot auto-execute, but we have done this thing many times in the past, so we can auto-set a goal. We don't really need to think about it. Sometimes we don't even have a goal for that, so we need to do a sub-goal query to decide what interim step, again, in the same way that the unexpected is solved with a root cause query, the unattained is solved with interim steps of the sub-goal query. Finally, sometimes we know the goal, but it's too vague and we need to particularize it. We'll see this with an example. It's not easy to explain now. So that's a lot of theory. Let's go to a more practical example. So let's say you're at your home, you're playing a video game right now. So in your internal state, you say, I'm playing a video game, but you're hungry and you have already ordered food. So your internal state says, I'm playing a video game, I've ordered food. It has many other things like I'm at home, it's the evening. I'm not depicting them all concurrently so that the shape is not too heavy. And here you can see the canvas that currently, I'm trying to win the game. So I'm focusing on the game-related predictions and goals. I'm also hungry. I wanted to get something to eat, but I ordered food. So this has been paused at the moment because I'm waiting for something to happen. Essentially, I'm waiting for the delivery guy to come and the bell will ring. This is part of our prediction perimeter that originated from this part here. Now, I hear a knock on the door. This is out of context. This is something I did not expect. So let's try to see what will happen now. This is out of context. So essentially, you see the red part here. Now our attention goes here, and we need to do a root cause query to solve it. So we stop putting our battery and our attention towards this part of our brain and try now to solve this. As we discussed, out of context are solved by finding the root cause of why something happened. It's probably because we're missing something in our internal state and we need to figure this out. So we're taking a guess that someone's at the door. This is quite reasonable, yes. If someone's at the door, it could explain why we heard a knock at the door. But this does not solve the whole story. The differential is not eliminated. We need to figure out who is at the door. So, one thought could be, my mother's at the door. And why I'm not saying the delivery guy, because I expected the doorbell. I didn't expect a knock on the door. So let's say in this specific human, in this hypothetical example, that his first thought was that the mother's at the door. But in its internal state, he remembers that his mother is in the kitchen. So he knows, because he saw her, a minute ago, that this is part of the internal state. Therefore, there's a negative prediction. This is rejected as a solution. So if this is rejected, we need to find another solution. So then the solution to that is probably that the delivery guy is at the door. We think about it a bit more, and it's at the edge of our prediction perimeter because we really believe that he will ring the bell, but maybe for some reason the outer door was open and we could he just knocked on the door. So this thing is at the edge of our prediction perimeter. It does explain the out of context, so we're willing to accept it. So this thing here essentially solves the root cause query. And if we see it at the example, we see that the workflow, we got the input of the knock on the door, we integrated it into our internals, into the canvas as a key differential that needs to be solved, and then we were doing the root cause query. Let's continue. So we accepted, because we solved this out of context, that the delivery guy is at the door. So you can see that the internal state grew. Now we are accepting that the delivery guy is at the door because it helped us solve this out of context. Now our prediction in that area is larger. We're thinking more and more. So we're thinking, yes, the food has arrived. So this creates a positive prediction of pleasure, that I will eat and get pleasure. Maybe we have some, if we're quite diligent, we might have some thoughts that, if I don't do something now, the guy might be standing at the door for some time. And it reminds us of the fact that we had been annoyed if they had left us standing at the door, or maybe we had been scolded by our parents if we were standing at the door, if we left someone standing at the door for some time. So these are negative predictions, so negative emotional coloring. So you see, the focus has shifted now to, I need to solve that I'm hungry. So to get something to eat, I need now to figure out how to solve those differentials. And you can see here that I solved the root cause query. I updated my understanding, my internal state. I updated my expectations and emotional coloring, and this created new differentials, some emotions, some promise of potential pleasure, and some potential discomfort if I don't act soon. So I need to solve them. Luckily for me, there is a solution, and it sounds feasible, because if I get pick up the food, then I will be able to eat, and I will solve my worry that I was leaving the delivery guy standing at the door. So you can see that this worry, the delivery guy standing at the door, as well as the fact that I'm hungry, two differentials can be solved by the same action. So we're essentially sponsoring this action. And to be able now to get up, to get the food picked up, I need an interim action. This is a non-actionable thing because it's a bit abstract. But we have done it many times in the past. We know how to pick up food that was delivered to our own house. So since the delivery guy is at the door and I'm sitting at my chair, this is another part of the internal state, I know that an action that solves this, an interim action, is to get up from the chair. I know that if I was up from the chair, it's easy to go and pick up the food. So I'm willing to sponsor this interim action, which was an interim action for this. You see, we're creating the chain here. And we can see it here in the workflow. So after we solved the out of context of who was that guy, and we emotionally evaluated that we can get pleasure, this got priority. We tried to auto-execute. It was not possible because we were not standing at the door. But we have done this many times in the past, so we automatically set a goal to get up from the chair. Okay, so we got up from the chair and now we're standing. You see that because this was completed, it's now also part of our internal state. We consider ourselves standing right now because it happened as we expected. So this goal now needs another interim goal. I need to walk to the door. We know that if I was at the door, I can pick up the food. And we know that it's possible, since I'm standing, to go and walk to the door. So you see it here, that this thing got completed. And now this, along with our internal state, because it's still being sponsored and not completed, sponsored another interim goal, walk to the door. You can see here what is happening. Essentially, we're sponsoring a goal. This gets priority. We try to auto-execute. Yes, we can get up, so it produces output. We see that we actually got up. It is as expected, and therefore this triggers finding the next auto goal in the internal state, which was to walk to the door. And it goes like this, right? So you get the idea from now. So this goal is still non-actionable because the door is not open. So we know that I'm at the door, I need to pick up the food, so the automatic goal is to open the door. I know that if the door is open, I can pick up the food. But the door is not open right now, so I need to open it. So I need to sponsor this sub-goal. So you see, this got completed, and now I'm sponsoring this sub-goal. Let's see what happens next. Oh, the door isn't opening. This is out of context. This is outside my prediction perimeter. So I need to solve that. How do we solve that? We get an out of context here that has priority, and we need to do the root cause query. So we got the input, tried to open the door. It did not match our expectations, so it was out of context. So we integrated this and we said, okay, now this out of context needs a root cause query to figure out why the door is not opening. You can probably guess the reason why, right? It's easy. So with the root cause query, we're thinking, the door is locked. This would explain why the door isn't opening, and it's part of our prediction perimeter. Why? Because, it's past 9 p.m. This is another part of our internal state, and we know that we lock the door in the evenings, so that's why it's locked. So I'm willing to introduce it into my internal state as well, because it helps me eliminate the out of context. So now I consider that the door is locked, part of my internal state. Okay, but I still need to open the door. How do I do that? I will find the sub-goal. I will find the sub-goal, and it's probably to get the keys from their last location. I know that I go get the keys from where they are, and this will help me to open the door. I've done it many times in the past. Now, there's a problem with this goal, and that's why you see it with different delineation here. It's quite abstract. I've done it many times in the past, and every time it was in a different location, which means that I kind of need to solve an interim problem, which is I need to particularize this sub-goal. I need to make it specific to my situation. And the way to do that is to try to do a particularization query. So the particularization query essentially is trying to recall from memory something that matches the query here. So we know that the last location is generic. We need something specific. So we go and ask our memory, hey, give me the last location of the keys, so that this goal becomes really actionable for us. Now, let's take this specific example and say that the particularization query did not provide any results. We really don't remember where we left the keys. So this sponsoring path of to open the door, I need to get the keys from the last location, this did not get particularized from memory. So we really tried to particularize it. It did not provide the answer so that we can recalculate and execute the goal. So we need to create a sub-goal to find the answer. And you can probably guess what that is. If we couldn't find it from memory, we'll probably find the sub-goal to look around to find the keys. This will make this goal more particular, more actionable, and then we will be able to execute it to open the door to get the food picked up. So you see that this goal spawned another sub-goal. it's starting to get quite long here. So it spawned the sub goal to look for the keys. This got prioritized. Looking for the keys is actually actionable. You just move your head. So you move your muscles, and then you get new input. This input is predictable because it's the room around you. You've seen it many, many times. But it feeds here the fact that we did not manage to particularize. So we might look around and see here and there, execute some actions, and still we didn't get anything. We didn't find the keys by looking around. Now, while we're doing that, because this differential was also active, it started becoming more and more active because he's still waiting at the door. So now we're more worried that we're annoying him. So this is a differential that got priority, and we need to solve it. And how do you solve it? So you see here, it got emotional coloring. It became a priority. We said, need to make the delivery guy not annoyed. We don't have an automatic action for that. We don't have an automatic goal for that. So let's think of a way. Let's find an interim goal that will reduce his annoyance. And we thought of, okay, I'll shout out loud, I'm coming, so that we gain some time. This would indeed reduce his annoyance, and this is actionable for us, right? So we sponsor this goal. This goal is actionable. We auto-execute. We hear our voice. It's in context. It reduces the differential of our concern for the annoyance of the delivery guy, so we can move on. So now we can get back to our main goal, which was to open the door. So we're still thinking and still trying to generate sub-goal queries of other options, since we cannot find the keys to the door. And we now thought of another option, which is, okay, I'll probably get the food through the window on the side. This is more outside of our main perimeter. We don't do it often, but because we did not solve the solution, we did not solve the situation fast, the differentials were growing and growing, forced us to put even more battery, even more attention into this, and we started to explore, because we have more battery to search within our mind, we started to explore more unconventional methods. So we get this method. Indeed, if I was at the window, I can pick up the food. So this is actionable. And yes, from a current state, I can get to the window. So this is also actionable. So we have traced the path. So it's something that can be done. So now we can sponsor to receive the food through the window. Now, we can go on and see how this thing could, after you get the food, and then where do you take it, and how do you take the utensils and the plates and start eating. You get the idea of how this works. But essentially, it was this workflow here that we saw with various steps, where we always prioritize what's the most important differential to solve. If it's out of context because it was not predicted, then we need to solve it, find the root cause and link it to our internal state and extend the internal state by accepting this new assumption. If it's a sub-goal that will bring something non-actionable closer to us in order to avoid a discomfort or reap some pleasure, then at first we try to auto-execute if it's super easy and with just an action we can do it. If not, then we can set a goal if we've done it many, many times in the past and we know it works. Otherwise, we need to think and come up with solutions of which interim goal could solve this. And if the interim goal we come up with is not particular enough, we need to ask our memory, short or long-term memory, to bring in something that is particular to the situation so that a generic goal becomes particular and solves the actual situation. So this is it. This is Noesis theory in short. For more, because there's a lot more, you can go to noesistheory.com and read the textual description. And I can't wait to hear your thoughts on the subreddit Noesis and discuss together potential scenarios of human behavior that you think can or cannot be explained through this model. Whether you have seen other theories or models that align to it or contradict to it. I would also love to hear that. And till next time, thank you very much for your time.